In today's video, I'm going to be answering one of the most frequently asked questions that shows up in my Instagram DMs, and that is, what do I do if I'm losing followers on Instagram? Obviously, this is something that a lot of people find distressing. They're really trying hard to grow, and they keep seeing their numbers go down. I totally get why this would concern you, and if you've reached out to me about this before, trust me, I get it. It's something you want to figure out, because if you are aiming for growth, and you're seeing a decline, there's something that we're going to need to change in order to make your goals happen. So today we're going to look at a couple potential circumstances that you might find yourself in that could be leading to your loss of followers. And then what to do if you are in that situation to turn it around and start to see growth instead. So let's get into it. The first thing that you might be experiencing is a loss of followers due to changing your niche. If you have recently changed from a personal Instagram to a business-focused Instagram, or you used to talk about a different subject matter and now you're talking about something new, you might be seeing a decrease in followers because of that change. If you have recently changed niches and you're worrying about losing followers, don't worry about it. In this particular circumstance, losing followers actually isn't a bad thing, and you shouldn't stress about it. Let me tell you why it's not a bad thing, because that might seem totally counterintuitive to you. When you are switching niches, or if you are evolving from being a personal Instagram to now being like a personal brand or a business Instagram, you might see some people starting to unfollow you. And that is simply because when they followed you, they were following you for a different kind of content than you are now providing. They used to follow you for personal updates or photos of your salad or whatever, and now you're talking about business, whatever form that might take for you, then yeah, they might unfollow you because they might not be interested in the kind of products or services or whatever that you're selling. And that's totally fair, right? Like if you follow somebody for a particular reason and then they stop providing that kind of content, it's fair to unfollow them because you might just not be interested in what they're currently posting. Really try not to feel discouraged by this, because actually the people who are unfollowing you because they're no longer interested in your content are doing you a favor. I know it might not seem like it, but they actually are, because the fact is they were never going to be excited, loyal, and engaged followers. So if they kept on following you just out of guilt, they probably weren't going to like your posts, they definitely weren't going to comment on them, and they certainly were not going to buy your product or service. So why do you need to have them following you, right? You're just going to end up having a really low engagement rate if you somehow manage to pressure your old followers to keep following you even though they're not interested. So if you're switching niches and you're seeing people unfollow you each time you post a new photo that has to do with this niche or subject matter, don't worry about it. Also, don't worry about this changing lighting. That is very intense. I'm sorry about that. It's what happens when you use natural lighting and you have like 12-foot windows in your house. The point is this: when you're switching niches and you see a decline in followers, that's a good thing. That means that your audience is naturally refining itself into the audience that is going to be interested in your new content. Honestly, a lot of people in this situation make the mistake of switching niches, seeing in the short term a decline in followers, and then immediately backpedaling and going back to talking about their old subject matter because they think that will help them get more followers back. But here's the thing: the people who just unfollowed you, they aren't coming back. They don't know what you're posting anymore. So going back to posting about your old stuff isn't going to bring them back. And in the long run, this kind of reaction is actually going to be the most detrimental thing to your brand, because you are basically getting the worst of both worlds, right? If you just never change and you stay in your current niche, like let's say for instance that being making a personal account, just like sharing about your own life, you likely aren't going to grow from posting about that content because you want to change, you want to do something different, you're passionate about something else, so you're not really going to see growth there. So then you switch to your new niche, but then you see a short-term decline in followers, so then you quickly go back to your old niche. Well, now people aren't going to start following you for your new niche either because you aren't consistently posting about it. So just whatever you do, you need to commit to it. So if you're switching to a new niche, even if you see in the short term a decline in followers, don't freak out. Just keep going. Keep posting about your new content. Create for the audience you want, not for the audience you have. That is the only way to create the audience that you want. If you're posting for your old followers that are not really interested anymore, that's not your ideal audience. Just keep on posting in the niche that you want to be in for the audience that you want to have, and eventually you will get through this dip in engagement and dip in followers, and you will start to see growth again. It just takes time. So, to my friends watching who have recently switched niches and are now stressing out because they're seeing a decline in followers, don't stress out. Just keep on posting. It's going to be fine. The second circumstance that you might be in that could be leading to a small dip in your follower count could be if you have recently spoken out about something that you care about and are passionate about, but is maybe considered by some to be controversial. Honestly, this can happen in any context. Many of us have values and beliefs that we feel like we want to share, but we know not everyone is going to agree with. Especially recently, of course, with the Black Lives Matter movement gaining a ton of traction online, you may have noticed, if you, rightly so, took a stand and started speaking up about this, about the injustices faced by Black people in our society and about police brutality, then you might have noticed that you could have lost some followers over that. If that is the case, in this particular circumstance, or with anything that you feel strongly about that you have recently taken a stand on, if you have seen a dip in followers, then once again, I'm going to give you the same advice that I did to all of my changing niche friends. Don't worry about it. Again, this is just your audience self-selecting and refining itself to be more of the kind of people that you want to speak to. If somebody unfollowed you because you talked about Black Lives Matter, you probably don't want them following you to begin with. So don't worry about it. I think it's pretty obvious, and this goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Your values and your beliefs and holding true to those and speaking up about stuff that you care about is more important than your follower count. So don't worry about it if this is your circumstance. And just keep speaking up about what you think is right, because that's important. Before we dive into the third reason why you might be losing followers, which is honestly the most common one, I want to share with you a brief 45-second message from this video's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning platform with thousands of classes for creative and curious people. Whether you want to learn more about social media marketing, content creation, graphic design, video editing, or photography, there is a class for you on Skillshare. Since I know you're interested in Instagram growth, then I cannot recommend enough Taylor Loren's course on how to make Instagram content that people will care about. Taylor is the head of content marketing at Later, and you know how much I love Later. It's my favorite Instagram scheduling platform, and she has some amazing tips and advice about how to build a personal brand on Instagram and create content that people want to engage with. You can check out that class and so many more on Skillshare for free for the next 2 months by using the link in my description. The first 1,000 people who use the link will get 2 months of Skillshare Premium totally for free. And after those 2 months, Skillshare is an incredibly affordable subscription. It works out to about $10 a month on the annual plan. So join Skillshare today and keep on pursuing those creative passions. Okay, so maybe you're like, I don't think either of those are my personal circumstances. Let's say you haven't changed niches recently, and maybe even if you have spoken up about something that you're passionate about lately, maybe that's not really when you were seeing the decline in followers. Maybe it's been a more sustained thing over a long period of time. If that's you, then let's talk about what you can do. So if you've basically been making the same kind of content for weeks, months, or years, and you haven't really changed anything or done anything new recently, but you have started to see a decline in followers, what might be going on there? My suggestion would be maybe it's time to try something new. Maybe you've been doing something for a really long time and you know what, it worked in the past, it was really effective for you before, but now maybe it's just starting to get a bit stale. And that's okay. You know what, if anything, you should take heart and know that this is a really fun opportunity to try something new, do a new form of content, talk about something from a slightly different angle, switch it up, make it more fresh, and just experiment. Your followers might love the niche that you're speaking about, but maybe they've just kind of seen it before and it's just starting to feel a little bit repetitive. So this is an opportunity to shake things up, try something new, and see what does work for you. I think it's so important with Instagram strategy that you do switch things up, you test out new strategies, and you see what works for you, because the only way you can tell if a new strategy is going to be effective is by trying it out and doing it over a sustained period of time, like at least a month, before you try to look at your insights and gather data from it. Okay, so then how can we do this specifically? The first thing you can try is changing up your posting schedule. If you have been posting 5 days a week, every day at noon for months and months, and you're kind of slowly seeing a decline in engagement, switch it up. Instead of 5 times a week, try like twice a week. Sometimes going from posting a lot to posting a little less often can make people see your post as a little bit more valuable and a little bit more scarce, so they might be more willing to be engaged in it. There are some people that I follow on Instagram that I only see posts from like once a month, and then when I do see that post, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is interesting. Like, they have something to share now. I'm not saying that that's always the most effective, because I do think that showing up for your followers on a frequent basis is important. But if you're finding that you're kind of losing engagement and you're not getting the same traction that you used to with your current posting schedule, switch it up for a while and see how it goes. In addition to changing up your posting schedule, another thing you can do is trying out new forms of content. Just scroll through Instagram, get inspiration from some of your favorite creators, see what kind of formats they're using, and then see how you can put your own spin on it for your own niche. Maybe you do a lot of posts like me that are like photos of yourself with some kind of long form mini blog post type caption. If that's starting to get stale, then think about what else you could do. Maybe you could make some really shareable quote graphics. Maybe you could post videos for a while. Just try something new. At this point, if what you're currently doing as a content strategy doesn't really seem to work anymore, then now is the time to just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And like I was saying before, make sure that you commit to this new strategy for at least a month. Even better if you could do it for 3 months, because then you will have some really extensive data that you can look at to see what has done well with your audience and what hasn't. And then at that point, you can evaluate your experiment and maybe pick out just a few of the different formats that you tried to continue going forward with. No matter which of these circumstances you might be in, if you are seeing your followers go down and you're like, okay, how can I change this? How can I turn this around in the opposite direction? One thing that you should really implement is a solid engagement strategy. Look, let's be honest, we can all slip up when it comes to consistently engaging. I always wish that I was spending more time engaging on Instagram than I actually am, because really you can kind of spend limitless time doing this and it's always just going to keep being effective for you. And so no matter which of these circumstances you find yourself in, I want to encourage you to start being really committed and consistent with your engagement strategy. If you're not sure where to start, I actually have a whole video where I share my 10-minute daily Instagram engagement strategy. And you can click on this video to watch it now. I promise it will really help you get into a habit of engaging frequently that is really going to help you go from declining in followers to growing your number of followers. So once again, sorry that the lighting was all over the place in this video. I promise you I tried so hard to fix it. Anyway, the lighting's more consistent in this video, so go watch that next. Make sure you also hit the subscribe button. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in this video. Okay, bye.